Hello again and thank you for joining me. So today's drawing wasn't really something that I had planned. As I was working on my recent swan drawing, I had a couple of really grand ideas brewing for what my next piece was going to be. I had my reference photos ready and I had the colours in mind, and I'd even gone as far as drawing up the outlines. But when it came time to put it down onto that final piece of paper, I found that the idea just didn't excite me anymore. What had seemed like such a fantastic idea was now just feeling incredibly uninspired by what I had in front of me. I chose to go with another subject just for the moment. I went through my big fat folder of reference photos on my computer and I came across a photo that I had downloaded from Wildlife Reference Photos many months ago. But even though this particular photo really interested me, I just really didn't feel super excited or inspired to create much of anything really. I find that inspiration is a bit of a tricky thing for me. That truly excited and unstoppable desire to create something has a really bad habit of striking me only at 3 AM or in the middle of a work shift when I'm far from my art supplies. But when I actually have time to sit down and work, whoof, nothing. Everything just seems so boring. It can be really easy to fall into that trap of thinking that you have to feel inspired to create art. And to be honest, it's a trap I fell into for years. Waiting for the stars to align at the perfect time of day with the perfect idea, it never happened. And for years I only ever created art randomly and very rarely. So many wasted years waiting for that inspiration to fall upon me. I think that inspiration is an incredibly misleading and fickle emotion. Here 1 minute, gone the next. It's all of the rush and none of the hard work. It's amazing when you can combine inspiration and creation at the same time, but staying in that excited state forever would probably be really awful for your mental health. Over the past couple of years, I've learned to balance these moments of inspiration with moments that I just have to sit down and work at getting something done. Art has become a habit, so even when I don't feel particularly inspired, I still habitually want to pick up a pencil. I like to use times like these to practice. I'll pick up a sketchbook, or I'll experiment around with some of my supplies, or I'll practice an element that I struggle with. Recently I purchased Alan Woolett's bird art book, and I've been admiring his drawings so much. The birds themselves are beautifully rendered, but where he really excels is creating these beautiful natural textures of the wood or stone or wire that the birds are sitting upon. After looking at his work and then looking at my own, I find that I tend to rush these parts of the drawing. I'll admit I tend to focus more on the subject and I don't work as hard on the supporting elements in the drawing. So instead of being inspired to create this piece as a whole, I was inspired to explore that element of the drawing. I decided that I was going to force myself to slow down and pay much more attention than I usually would to the branches. Now, of course, I didn't rush through the galahs. I spent as much time and effort on them as I usually would. But I told myself that no matter how long it took, I would spend more time on the branches than I did on the birds themselves. I spent a lot of time looking at the reference photo. Now, I didn't want to straight out copy the photo, but I did want to capture as many of those details that I could. There were areas of stripped bark and lichen growing, and small little borer holes and tiny cracks, and I would have to render all of these elements to create a really realistic wood texture. Finally, as these branches started to come together in a way that I really liked, I started to find myself getting excited about this piece. By stretching myself, I found that I was creating something that I really liked, and suddenly I couldn't wait to see it finished, and I had to fight myself not to start rushing again. I found the trickiest part here was dealing with those tiny little sticks at the bottom. I had to use a very sharp pencil and be very sure of my lines before that pencil even touched the paper. Erasing any misplaced or shaky marks here would be absolutely impossible. So this area was a little nerve-wracking. But once again, by taking my time and really looking at the reference photo, it all came together beautifully. So in the end, I'm glad I wasn't inspired to create the original piece I intended to create. The idea is still there, and it's ready to be started up again at any moment. Perhaps it just needs to marinate in my head just a little bit longer before it makes it to the paper. Instead of that, I have created a piece that I am truly proud of, and I've learnt some new skills along the way. I'm really glad I didn't wait to be inspired. So here's the final piece. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please leave a like or a comment to tell me what you think, and if you'd like to see some more of my work, why not hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys.